This is 91.3 FM, WCW in Worcester, Massachusetts, the Dr.Chris Radio of Horror program. And tonight on the Radio of Horror, we have, calling all the way from Europe, we have Michael Forsland on the show with us. He is one of the man behind Viking Zombies, which we had a chance to play at PAX East, and then later on our own home console on the PlayStation 4. And you can check out our review at radiohorror.wordpress.com about it. Thank you for coming on the show with us, Michael.
Hi, thank you. How are you?
Good. Why don't you tell us, for those not familiar with it and didn't have a chance to read my review yet or have seen it, what Zombie Vikings is all about?
Yes, Zombie Vikings is a co-op story brawler that takes place in almost a perverted version of Nordic mythology. It's a brawler where you play as one of 4 zombie Vikings, and you set out on this quest to retrieve Odin's eye that's been stolen by Loki. So it's based in old Nordic mythology, but it's a really crazy take on the whole thing, and it has a lot of humor, a lot of action, and a lot of crazy things going on when you explore the story with either with your friends or alone if you play a single player. But it's really a great game to play with your friends.
You guys have a lot of zany animation in the game. It's like a cartoon brought to life.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of time. Before we made Zombie Vikings, we made another game called Stick It to the Man, which is it shares the same art style, and it also has a lot of animated cutscenes, a lot of voice acting, and wanted to expand on that universe, so to speak, and create another game that has like the same art style and the same mindset. So we decided to make Zombie Vikings a couple of years ago, and it was released last year, and yeah, we really spent a lot of time doing the animation and spend a lot of time on the script, and yeah, that's kind of what we do here at Zoink. We make a lot of animated fun games.
Who are some of the artists that are on your team to help design the craziness in the game?
It's quite a small team. We're about 20 people at Zoink Games, and at the start of the development of Zombie Vikings, it was only about half of the team that worked on the game, but towards the end, the whole team of 20 was working on the game, and most of the thoughts and the ideas and the script comes from our creative directors, which for this game was Klaus Lingeled, which is the CEO of Zoink, and also Andreas, which is the other creative director at Zoink, and they come up with the story and write most of the basic script, and then we send it off to a guy called Zach Weinersmith, which is quite known for Saturday morning breakfast cereals. It's a webcomic, and he sort of refines the dialogue and makes it like a little better, because our native tongue isn't English, so it's a little more challenging for us to write good American comedies. So we send it off to Zach, and he makes it better, and then we get it back and we record the voices for it.
Who are some of the voice actors in the game?
That we have like 15 different people, and I don't know them all, but I know Lucas Schuneman is one of them, and I'm not sure. I think he did a few voices on Stick It to Man. Also Ty Konsak, which I'm certain he did. I can't remember which voice is Mehdi. I think it might be. Wow, I think it's the brain that has that's one of the characters in Stick It to the Man, and he came back to made another voice for Zombie Vikings, and also Cassie. I'm not sure her last name. I think it's Ivulu. She did Gunberg, which is one of the characters in Zombie Vikings, and she was on Stick It to the Man as well. So we tried to reuse everyone we knew from the old games we make, and we're probably going to reuse them in our coming games as well.
Did you pull a lot of the lore for the game on real Viking mythology?
Well, no, not really. It's loosely based on the characters that exist in Nordic mythology, but if you actually go and read about Nordic mythology, there's a lot of crazy stories going on. But the whole thing with the eye gone missing, not to my knowledge, isn't based on any actual event that took place or supposedly took place. But all the characters are based, but not the Zombie Vikings, of course. There are no zombies. Our creative director Klaus sort of likes to share the story that if you know the movie Napoleon Dynamite and the guy Napoleon.
Yep, John Heater.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sort of like if Napoleon Dynamite were to write a game or a movie about Nordic mythology with zombies, that's kind of how we wanted the story to be. Like, how would someone that doesn't know anything about Nordic mythology make a game that has zombies and Vikings in it? So that's what came out, Zombie Vikings. So it's not much based in actual events.
So they basically just wrote it out of their ass to make it seem like it's a completely just so Looney Tunes style version of Norse mythology.
Yeah, that's exactly what we was going for.
Do you ever watch that TV series Vikings?
Actually, I haven't. I've seen that it's on. I think it's on HBO.
No,
And
it's on A&E.
oh, okay. Yeah, I know of it, but I haven't watched it. Have you seen it?
No, I'm sorry. It's actually on the History Channel, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's like the History Channel or something like that. It's one of those type of channels. I might be wrong about the History Channel, but it's like that channel's like first original scripted show because they usually do nothing but documentaries and historical stuff. So this is like the
Oh,
first like script style show, kind of like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I saw the first season. I enjoy it. I haven't completely finished it all the way through. Are you going to be
okay.
doing a follow up to the game?
And not at this moment. No, we're not doing any following up into Zombie Vikings. We are working on two other games though, which we haven't announced properly yet. There is a demo of one of our games in Zombie Vikings. Actually, it's quite hidden, so you need to look quite carefully to find it. But if you do find it, it's hidden in a side quest in one of the levels. You can actually unlock a demo of our new game, and the other game I can't say much about because it's still super secret, but it shares the same art style as Zombie Vikings and Stick It to the Man, and it's going to be really fun to talk about that game. Hopefully, in a couple of months, but we have to wait a little more.
One of the things that really stands out about your game, it's very colorful and like the colors really stick out for the PlayStation 4's graphics capability, which is really nice.
Took ages actually to finish all the art style. Everything is like hand drawn, although digitally, but we all the art style is hand drawn, and it takes forever to draw all the assets needed for the game because it's actually I think it's 25 levels, but it's set in a couple of different worlds and there's so many details. If you go looking into the art, we share a lot of concept art on the social media, and if you really take a look at that art, it has so much detail. I spent a lot of time with that.
What games did you play growing up, and what made you want to get into game development?
I'm actually an old school Nintendo gamer. I've One of my first games was like probably the first Legend of Zelda, which was in English, of course, and I didn't speak a word of English. So I used to, because I live in Sweden, so we speak Swedish. So I used to play Legend of Zelda 1 with my friend, and we had a dictionary so we could look all the words up so we know what we were doing. And ever since then, I had the Amiga, and then I got all different kinds of consoles. And I only turned into game development a couple of years ago. Um, I used to work in a video store for pretty much 15 years or so, but that was kind of there aren't many many video stores left, so I wanted to do something else, and then I turned into game development. So it's a really fun business to be into.
What was the number one Nintendo game you played growing up as a kid?
If I have to pick one
Or two?
Nintendo
You can
game,
pick. You can pick like you can give us a few. It doesn't have to be one, but like, what games were you constantly playing
I would say one of my fondest memory growing up was Legend of Zelda 3: A Link to the Past. That's one of the greatest games
on
ever,
the
and
on the Super Nintendo?
yes, exactly. And I also liked a lot of when I started playing on my Amiga. I played a lot of the old Sierra adventures like Police Quest and Leisure Suit Larry 1, 2, 3, and Heroes Quest and all those games. And that was kind of the main reasons I started to learn English because you have to know a lot of words in order to finish those games. And yeah, Maniac Mansion was one of my favorite games growing up as well, and also Wrecking Crew, which I heard like the other day, which was one I read a review someone saying Wrecking Crew was a bad game, and I couldn't believe it because I think it's one of the best games ever made. I love that game, and yeah, a lot of Zelda games, a lot of Mario games, and also loved Solstice, the old isometric adventure game that came out on NES like I don't think late 80s
Yep.
somewhere.
I was a big fan of Castlevania growing up, and I still am.
Yeah, yeah. I actually never finished a Castlevania game. I did play like the three first, I think, and I did. The only Castlevania game I actually finished was, I think, one of the new ones. I think Lords of Shadow, I think, which I really enjoyed. I've tried going back to like the first Castlevania, but it's kind of challenging. I like it, but it's really challenging.
Yeah, they're extremely challenging games, very, very much. Where can people pick up a copy of Zombie Vikings?
They can get it on PS4, both digitally on the PSN store, or we actually have a copy out physically on disc, which is called the Ragnarok edition. And it's also out on Steam, and it's coming out on Xbox One hopefully in a couple of months, probably after the summer. So it's out.
Cool, awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show with us, Michael, talking about Zombie Vikings, and we look forward to your next video game adventure.
Thank you. It was nice coming on.